So in entering at concepts, to me, this is a powerful move because when we look at ordinary languages that we speak every day, we will find embedded in them countless ethical concepts and terms, or terms that imply something ethical or something that's not ethical.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we were writing the ethical reasoning guide, we did an analysis, a short analysis, because that's all you really can do within a given ordinary language. In other words, we looked at what are some key terms, key concepts that imply an ethical dimension. So here are some obvious examples: honesty, truthfulness, trustworthiness, being civil, being polite, being courteous, being respectful. You might say, well, let's take respectful. Somebody may say, well, I don't, there's some things that I don't respect.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to be respectful of those things. And if they tell us what those are, those will most likely be things that are unethical in themselves. So when we use any of these terms, we don't mean to use them without context, but we use them always in context. Still, we see by looking at the language in this way, the roots of our thinking about ethics as humans, because we've codified all of these terms within our languages, and we've codified them for good reason, so that we can use them. So I can say, what you're saying is not true. You're not being truthful right now. You're hiding something right now. You're being deceptive or deceitful. So that's implying something that's unethical.
Mm-hmm.
So we have both sets of terms, and we lay these out over a couple of pages. And to me, these help us see our underpinnings in ethics. Because, well, let me just say this and jump in, Gerald. I just want to say, because from these concepts emerge the most basic, or some of the most basic ethical principles, like all things being equal, thou shalt be truthful. All things being equal, you should be respectful of others and considerate of them.
Right.
So jump in, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say I like very much that you emphasized context, because as far as I can see, all ethical principles, and maybe all principles even outside of ethics, are heavily context dependent.
Mhm.
So you mentioned as ordinary ethical terms, polite and considerate, or yeah, or courteous, and those have an ethical dimension, as you say. Other things being, I don't know even about other things being equal, but in certain contexts, they have an ethical dimension, right? But eating with the right fork in the right hand is no ethical dimension. So lots of politeness, saying how do you do when you meet someone, it does not have an ethical dimension. But some aspects of politeness and courtesy do have an ethical dimension. And I think this is going to continue through everything we talk about, because it's something that you emphasize a lot, and that is how context dependent our ethical judgments are. That doesn't mean, though, to me, that they're just relative judgments. It means I got to take account of the context, and that's true even in non-ethical matters. Whether this medical procedure is appropriate for this kind of illness is context dependent. I mean, it's dependent on a lot of factors that a physician may not be in touch with. So it's not just ethical matters where we have to consider context. I'm saying that because some people infer from the fact that it's context dependent that it's just all relative. Well, there's your judgment and there's mine. And part of the way we do that is when we make judgments, we ignore the context dependent part. And we just say that such and such an action is right or wrong.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, that's to me a big error. And people often will do this. They'll say, well, does this theory really hold?
Mhm.
And how do we know it really holds? And I will say, well, what do you mean, does it hold? Does it hold in context? What is
Mhm.
the context? And
Mhm.
if you say, well, look, it's wrong to murder people, let's just face it. Then you
Mhm.
would say, again, I'll use the term all things being equal. But if somebody is coming at me with a knife,
Mhm.
I have a right to defend myself.
Mhm.
And if that ends up meaning that the other person is killed because I defended myself,
Mhm.
then the the situation called for me to do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you even with something that seems relatively simple like that,
Right.
don't murder people. Well, it's always contextual.
Right.
Mhm.
And I can even add about that example is that sometimes how can I say it? The context is embedded in the word. So you just use murder and killing, and the
Mhm.
murder is usually defined as
Mhm.
unjustified killing. So
Mhm.
notice the ethical principle is built right into the word murder,
Mhm.
whereas killing can very well be neutral, or it can be laudable in some circumstances, right? Defending a whole bunch of people against an on-site shooter or something like that. Uh, it just calls to my mind the complexities of making many, but not all, making many ethical decisions or judgments. And what happens, I think, for many people is that their mind immediately goes to these complex ones, which we're going to start addressing in a little while,
Mhm.
and ignores all the very simple ones. So, yeah, yeah,
Yes, thank you for that. When I said murder, actually, I realized I should have said killing
yeah,
in that
right,
situation.
right,
And this shows the importance of being careful which words we choose,
yeah, yeah.
and and having the ability to move in and out as we are doing with these in clarifying these terms. So if anyone is interested in this early move of looking at the terms within the language that you speak naturally and finding ones, just open the dictionary and just start looking is what I would say. And you're going to find them everywhere in the dictionary. And you're going to find, again, words like the ones I mentioned and some others depicting ethical behavior or motivation. Here are some more: generous, unselfish, charitable, altruistic, philanthropic, humanitarian. Again, take philanthropic. Someone may say, that's well and good, but I have no money to give. I have no access to give. I'm barely taking care of myself. Then I would say, then it doesn't follow that you're unethical if you can't give because you have nothing to give.
Mhm.
So again, showing the contextual nature of all of these concepts.